However you like your women, there's a good chance you'll find them in 80s video games, the decade that had a major crash and boom within less than 3 years of each other. It was a wild time for gaming, and that included its depictions of women, so don't hit that dial as these examples only get more salacious and offensive as the video goes on. Let's begin with Wabbit in 1982, likely the first depiction of a playable human female with a name. You play as Billy Sue, defending her family's livelihood from carrot-eating wabbits. She doesn't actually kill any of them unless you consider their eventual starvation, as I imagine every farm nearby is also guarded by other Billy Sues. At the time, there was no shortage of female protagonists, although the quality of those games was a little weak with such titles as Lilly Adventure in 1983. And wow, Lilly really looks like she was on an adventure. I don't even know what to say. Then there were games aimed specifically at girls like Jenny of the Prairie. This is one of those type-it style games that comes with some really tight audio design. You're not really in control of Jenny so much as you are in control of the idea of Jenny. Here comes Jenny. Jenny is thirsty. Jenny found the slingshot. What does Jenny want to pick up? Slingshot. Jenny is thirsty. And who could forget Ms.Pac-man in 1981? A non-married female with man in her name depicted with lipstick and a bow so you know she a girl, as she's pursued relentlessly by 4 creeps named Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Sue. Oh, one of the ghosts is a girl? So now that we have a little context on what 80s ladies of the arcades were like, let's get to our first major category, the warrior-type female, which was actually quite common at the time. Let's start with Ninja Princess in 1985, a remarkably competent run-and-gun game featuring Princess Kurumi, a female ninja accosted by many men with differently colored hoods. They fight on the ground, they hide poorly on rooftops, and they throw ninja stars that look like, oh! Can I even show that? Time Gal is an FMV or full motion video with stellar animations likely inspired by Dragon's Lair. It has the player either following prompts on the screen or choosing from a set of options with a limited time. It features fail-state animations in which Time Gal either dies horrifically or loses an article of clothing. Although these near nudity moments are very rare and most of the time she just goes... Then there was Athena, which was advertised in a very specific way, but it's actually a game about empowering a woman by putting her clothes on. Yeah. You know what to think about this one. And of course it wouldn't be right to discuss warrior women without Samus Aran from 1986's Metroid. My goodness, the game mechanics, level design, and timeless music have kept this classic on the tops of many listicles. And the reveal that Samus was a girl this whole time? Every time I watch this transformation, there's like a second where I think these pixels are something else. But either way, the gaming scene would forever be changed by this monster blasting badass. So there were our strong, independent women of the 80s. Now let's talk about some damsels in distress, the prize or end goal of our lead's adventure. Take for example in 1981 with Donkey Kong, one of the first, if not the first example of the damsel in distress formula. With Jumpman, later named Mario, trying to save his girlfriend, later named Pauline, after being dragged to the top of a New York construction site by Donkey Kong, later discovered to not be a donkey at all. Something a lot of people didn't know about Mario is he actually failed his New York carpenter's exam as he struggled with the mathematical reasoning and written expression portions of the test. This means that neither the state of New York or the city cleared him for work on an active construction site. Look at this guy. No hard hat, not tied off at what is definitely over 6 feet, which is the law in New York State. I'd bet money those aren't hard-toe shoes, and red and blue are nice colors, my guy, but high visibility saves lives. But you know who didn't take health and safety seriously? The Prince of Persia. Those are definitely not OSA-approved spike traps. In 1989, players controlling unnamed protagonist and Steve Irwin lookalike would attempt to save the princess after she's told she has 1 hour to marry Vizier Jafar or die. She's just not that into you, dude. This is one of the first video games I ever played and features some magnificent animations, brilliant visual clarity on traps, and wicked sword fighting. You have 60 real, actual minutes to complete this game, which ends with a showdown against Jafar over a rickety platform. And of course, all ends well, which is a complete fantasy, as things were not this good for women in Persia, or as we call it now, Iran. Okay, Princess Daphne from Dragon's Lair is a weird one because it's like the script said, explain how to save you, and then in brackets, real sexy like.
To slay the the dragon. Use the magic sword.
It's also very strange that while being guarded by what I'm certain is a dragon that has not been tagged or monitored by any wildlife organization, she is the exact opposite of in distress. Although she is in this dress.
The Legend of Zelda.
One of the most classic of classics has Link, a young adventurer, shooting swords at all sorts of wacky creatures with his mouth wide open. It features bullet heck-like gameplay, music so good they never stop using it, and the legendary line,
"It's dangerous to go alone, take this."
When Link finally gets to Zelda hidden away behind great big bowls of gas, he just stares at her. Pretty. Then she's like, "Thanks, you're the hero of Hyrule." The Mario Bros are synonymous with gaming in general, but especially in the 80s, and it's also worth noting that similar to their ancestor, neither brother was licensed to work on plumbing in any American state at the time. In fact, they were likely not even journeymen with less than 2 years of experience. In the first game, Princess Peach is just a stationary female human that says, "Thank you, Mario." But in the second game, she's actually a playable character along with Toad. But it was all a dream, and then they went back to the classic Mario and Luigi combo for the third. This time, Peach actually moves, JK is about not being in another castle, and then says, "Bye-bye." Oh yeah? No, it's cool. If you've been around for a bit, you've probably noticed that everyone sees the world and its inhabitants a little bit differently than the next person. And it might be hard to believe, but by comparison, those last examples were actually our tasteful depictions of women. You want to see what else I found? Stereotypes. No, I'm not talking about those. I mean like Barbie in 1984 for the Commodore 64. This one gets a lot of flack as it's just a dress-up game so you can please your male overlord Ken, but the audio engineering gets no love.
Hi Barbie, it's Ken. Would you like to go to the pool?
Sounds like fun.
Great. See you in an hour.
Bionic Granny, yes, you heard me right. You play as Bionic Granny, whose only goal is to hit the fastest children alive with her walking stick as she avoids lollipops. Is this a stereotype? Somebody thought it was. Although a slightly more familiar story plays out in Girl's Garden, which is both a farming and dating sim as you collect flowers while dodging actual bears in a race against your potential man, leaving you for another woman. No wait, I have N64 with Ocarina of Time. Also, one of the game's programmers, Yuji Naka, is the co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog and president of Sonic Team until 2006. Oh, it plays a little wedding song. That's so cute. Oh, now I feel bad for the orange girl. Alright, this last stereotype is quite a doozy. Mad Nurse is about an incredibly understaffed woman taking care of an unusual amount of babies as she tries to keep them away from anything that isn't a crib. This all happens in a 3-story building that apparently suffers from gale force winds indoors. Failure in this game results in them firing poor Ms. Brenda Bumwash? Bumwash? Okay, playtime is over. Unlike some of these games, this next section is not for kids. If you ever opened Steam's adult-only section and thought, when did people get so depraved that they need this much smut in their video games? Also, what are fresh women? Then you may be surprised to find the answer is right away. That's right, the first erotic video game was Soft Porn Adventure, released for the Apple II in 1981. But don't worry, the cover is the wildest part of this experience, as this was a text adventure intended to be funny. What shall I do? Screw hooker. Oh no, I've got the dreaded atomic clap. You're dead. Years later, Chuck and friends would remake Soft Porn Adventure into Leisure Suite Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. That's right, the first title in the series was a remake of the first erotic-themed video game. It's still controlled through text, but this time features flashy new graphics. Watch Larry look at nude women on the wall of a bar, flood a toilet so bad he drowns, and classic shenanigans like losing a blow-up sex doll off a balcony. The 80s. Although the graphics are pretty racy, you don't actually see any acts, as they are pretty creatively censored. Something I cannot say about Beat 'em and Eat 'em, which features a man shooting something off a roof as 2 naked women catch that something in their mouths. And apparently, it's tasty.
Oh, Lord, I think I'm coming down with a case of the vapors.
At first I thought these explicit games were rare, but it turns out not at all. Gigolo, Burning Desire, Bachelor Party, Emmanuel, Night on the Town and its gender reversal Jungle Fever, Custer's Revenge and its gender reversal General Retreat, with remake Westward Ho! Turns out we didn't even wait a moment, and absurd sexual content has been in video games from the very beginning all the way to the point of completion. Sorry. From 1981 to 1989, women have been depicted as ninjas, sex workers, princesses, time travelers, space adventurers, bionic grandmothers, empty husks, early childhood educators, lost, farm defenders, circles, and whatever this is. So what can we take away from all this? Have we learned to respect women better since the 1980s? Have they become too sexy or not sexy enough? Are we always going to get mad about their inclusion or exclusion? I have no idea. What I do know is that if you don't want to marry Vizier Jafar, then you don't have to. If someone gives you too many children to look after, you can say something. If you were only a playable character in one game, you can fight until your inclusion becomes the standard. Never let a giant ape carry you to the top of an unregulated New York construction site. Never catch anything in your mouth unless you want to. And never let a dragon hold you hostage in a castle waiting for an unaccredited plumber to save you. If you want to fight multiple ninjas at once, I say go for it. If you want to fly randomly through space-time to defeat this butthead, I say try it. If you want to run around in a spacesuit shooting monsters, give it a shot. And if you don't want to do any of these things, then you don't have to. I think you're enough.
Please save me.
What do I do?
The cage is locked.
Yes.
With a key.
But how?
The dragon keeps it around his neck.
Yes.
To slay the dragon.
Tell me how!